Hello my friends all over the world, William Poloniak here from Whole Health Foundation. Today I'm making a juice with French sorrel, my favorite green, carrots, and a few other ingredients. Let's take a look at those ingredients. In addition to my French sorrel and my carrots, I have about 180 grams of turmeric, 1 whole garlic, clove, 2 medium-sized beets, some ginger, and collard greens. So let's start making juice. Before I start making juice and running some ice cubes through the feed tube to cool it down, I want to point out that I'm using the near zero blowback cutter that has over 80 teeth, and this cools your produce over 4 degrees centigrade. I also have the front loading feed tube, as you can see, that eliminates blowback 100%. So let's put on the cutter. And I'm going to plug in the thermometer after I tighten the wing nuts and feed in 3 ice cubes, 3 or 4. Now I'll start with my collard greens and my French sorrel and alternate it with these smaller things like beets and turmeric. Sorrel. And I'll follow that with 2 beets and my garlic. Ginger. Continue with my greens until we're done with the greens. A little bit of turmeric. I'm going to alternate the turmeric with my greens. French sorrel. More ice cubes, those are about 20. We'll continue with the collard greens. Here's the last of my greens. Check your wing nuts frequently. Even if they're tight, check them. A few more ice cubes, then I'm going to start with carrots. Try your best to have the ice cubes go through slowly so that the heat transfers to the mechanism, not shoots all the way through. Now a couple, 3 carrots. Now I'm going to let some carrots go through and let the pulp come out. The reason I'm doing that is because carrot pulp absorbs the little puddle of juice down here very, very well. Now before I finish the rest of my carrots, I'm going to clean my grid and switch to the number 2 grid, which has smaller holes, and that's better for carrots. You could use the J grid. Some people do because they're kind of lazy. But I'm going to use the number 2 grid because it's better for carrots, and I'll clean that other grid later. And sometimes when carrots are small, you can put big end to small end and put in 2 or 3 carrots. Big end in first. I'm going to let some carrot pulp come out because we have a small puddle here. Carrot pulp absorbs juice very, very well. So anytime you have puddling down here, put in some carrots and let the pulp come out. Now I'll continue this way until we're done with the carrots. To push with two hands because it keeps your posture more erect. Big end to small end. Now here's the last of my carrots. Now, even though I can see in here that there's no unshred produce, I have a habit of putting in a couple of fingers full of pulp just to force anything through that might not get 100% shred. Now, the next step is to clean my grids, clean the feed tube, mix my pulp, and make some juice. And if there's any pulp in here, we'll remove that. Especially in the slot here. There's always pulp in the slot. We'll set that aside. And then clean the feed tube. And this brush that comes with all Whole Health Foundation juices is the perfect size for cleaning. Using the cleaning brush to clean the front, and up on the left, down on the right, up on the left, down on the right. The reason you do that is when you go up on the left, you're unscrewing the wing nuts, and down on the left, you're doing the same, you're unscrewing it, so you won't have an unnecessary step to unscrew them again. So the feature, well, first of all, let's clean that with the spray nozzle. I almost forgot. Now you could dry everything. I don't. I let it air dry. And the same thing down here will soak up all the water that came down. And a good idea is to rotate the bowl in both directions because you get a better mix that way. Now the next step is to crack the ice on these cloths. I keep them in the freezer until I need them. And cracking the ice on the edge of the counter makes them easier to take apart. Put them on top of the pulp bowl. Now, we'll take the cloths, put them in the folding tray, leaving some space here for the filled cloths. Leave them overhanging a bit, but enough so it doesn't touch the countertop. You never know how clean your countertop is. Well, we're going to put 3 scoops, that's about 1.5 cups, cup to 1.5 cups. I've actually never measured it, but it's about 1.5 cups. Just by eyeballing it. So make as tight a package as you can. We'll set this first one aside because we're going to press 2 cloths full of pulp at one time. And I'm going to demonstrate my 6 cloth less work method. This will save you a lot of time. There's a rhythm to this. First, 2 cloths full of pulp into the press, centered left to right. This is very important. Centered front to back, adjust if need be all the way back, back it off a little bit, turn it on. And we'll continue like that until we're done. And in a moment I'm going to show you my 6 cloth less work method. When you're on your last cloth, advance that all the way. That sound you hear is the bypass valve. It's nothing to be worried about. That's to make sure there's not too much pressure. If there's too much pressure, your juicer will pop apart. So here's my 6 cloth less work method. This goes forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top. 2 more cloths into the press. Again, centered, left to right. Centered front to back, adjust if need be, all the way back, back it off. Now, never throw away your pulp. You'd be surprised how many people would just throw this away and put new pulp on here. I'm going to show you how you can get 10% more juice. 2 scoops on top, not 3. We'll fold it into thirds just like they came in the package. Now you could pour this into the tray, but I'm not going to for a while. Let's put 2 more scoops on top of here. And remember, later you'll put only 1 scoop because the patty is getting thicker and thicker. Now when you're on your last cloth, advance that all the way. This goes forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top, and you continue until you're done. Now this time, well, first of all, centered left to right, centered front to back, turn it on, back it off. This time I'm going to hold this steady and pour this excess juice into the collection tray, and do it very, very carefully. As I've said in other videos, the first time I did that I got it all over my countertop. So we'll continue until we're done. I'm not going to put 2 cloths because this would overflow. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top. Now I'm going to shut this off because we're going to put this into bottles. Now so that this doesn't drip on your countertop, set it back, but not a little, a lot, so it's very, very obvious. Let's fill some bottles. Now I'm going to leave about 10% to add water. Juice is actually too sweet. I'm going to fill this from the back side so the camera gets a good look. As I said, juice is too sweet and too concentrated, especially for a diabetic. So what I'm going to do is fill the bottles and leave 10% and add filtered or distilled water later. You could even use tap water if it's palatable, or bottled water. Now again, never throw away your pulp. And later perhaps you put 1 scoop on, but these are very thin. So what I'm going to do is put on 2 scoops. And we'll continue until we're done. Flatten that, set it aside. And when you're on your last cloth, advance that all the way. Nice tight package. Flatten it. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top. Now, the pulp is very thick, so I'm going to put 1 scoop. You want this to be able to fit into the press, and it barely fits in now. Centered left to right, centered front to back, make the adjustments you need to, all the way back and back it off. 1 huge scoop instead of 2. Make a very tight package, flatten it, set it aside, and again, because the patty is very thick, we'll put in 1 huge scoop. Flatten that, this goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top. 2 more cloths into the press, centered left to right, centered front to back, adjust if need be, all the way back, back it off a little bit. Now we're not going to throw away this pulp. Let me show you what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to demonstrate that we get 10% more juice, and we're going to use a measuring beaker to demonstrate that. So this pulp that's left over usually is damp around the edges, and that is an indication that there's still juice in there. So I'm going to form this into a very tight ball and roll this under as many times as I can to make a very, very tight package. In both directions, as tight as I can make it. And we'll advance that all the way and continue doing that to the spent pulp. Now my friends, as you can see, I have 3 double packets here of repackaged pulp that most people would throw away, and I'm going to show you how much more juice we can get. Usually 1 or 2 full bottles of juice. So we'll put that in the tray right in the center, very important, front to back, left to right, adjust if need be, all the way back, back it off a little. And once you get juice flow, advance that all the way. Actually a little more than 4 ounces. I'm going to leave that up until they get droplets. There we go. So we'll put in 2 more cloths full of pulp, and these look pretty big, so I'm going to repackage them again. 2 more cloths full of pulp into the press, right in the center, and as soon as you get juice flow, advance that all the way. About 6.5 ounces, approaching 7 ounces so far. Very important to keep your eye on this container, because if you don't, it's going to pour all over your countertop. Well, my friends, as you can see, I've repackaged it a second time, and we'll do the same thing, press the juice out and see how much more juice we have. And so far we have 12 ounces. Remember, it's very important to put this right in the center of the tray. Check that it's on the press plate properly. Turn it on, advance it all the way, and back it off a little bit. And as soon as you see juice flowing here and that you have traction, advance that all the way. We're at about 15 ounces. Keep your eye on the container. And as soon as we have traction, advance that all the way. Well, we have 16 ounces so far. Looks like we're going to get 18 ounces of juice. Well, it looks like 19 ounces of juice, and we're overflowing almost. So let's pour it into the collection container, and we'll fill some bottles. And as before, we're filling it up to the rim, which leaves about 10% for filtered or distilled water. Looks like we got 11 bottles, so next I'm going to top this off with water. Looks like we got 11 bottles, and I'm topping this off with distilled water. And we'll put some caps on next and put them into the refrigerator. 11 bottles this session. Now the next to the last thing I'm going to do is wash all the pulp off these cloths, as I've already done, and then fold them into thirds. And we'll put this into the press and press the water out, then put them in the freezer. Put them in the freezer all the way back, and we'll get all the water out of the cloths. Then we'll put them into a plastic bag and into the freezer. So there we are. We got most of the water out. And into a plastic bag and into the freezer they'll go. Now, as you can see, my friends, I have 5, 10, 11 bottles, and about 1.5 of these was from pressing the already spent pulp. So we're getting a little more than 10% juice, and I have enough here for a taste test. We have enough here for a taste test. Oh, this formula is delicious. French sorrel, collard greens, carrots, and a few other ingredients that you saw at the beginning of the video. Well, I hope you like what you've seen, my friends, and if you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to phone me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfound.com. See you in the next video.